Hi, this is Jeff Richards, Columbus, Ohio. You're listening to Barbecue Central.
Start the game! Let's go!
We'll do it live. Okay. Well, do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
So to get that perfect barbecue, you use wood. Are you sure it's safe? Whatever. We put the lighter fluid on, strike the match, and... Oh! Should we call the fire department? That might be a good idea.
All right, good evening, and welcome to the really big Barbecue Central Show. A show that talks about all things important to the world of barbecue and grilling, originating from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame city of Cleveland, Ohio, the barbecue capital of the North Coast. I am your program host, Greg Rempe. Happy to have you on your Tuesday. If you want to jump in on the show tonight, more than happy to have you. It's a phone call in lieu of phone call. It can also be an email in lieu of one or the other. You can do both, and here's how you do that.
You can get in touch with the show by calling 216-220-0966. Email Greg at the BBQCentralShow.com. On the Twitter and Instagrams at BBQ Central Show.
Everything else you want to find out about the show can be found at the main website, thebbqcentralshow.com. And we were running right up until the end where we begin this show, as I am proud to tell you that the Seton Hill Volleyball Griffins come back on a 2-0 and win in 5 against California, Pennsylvania. Wow, what a nail-biter that was. And so they continue the winning streak and run into their next and last set of regular seasons games on Friday and Saturday. A little IUP and UPJ coming up. So if you're going to be in the Greensburg, Pennsylvania area, I will be there as well. We can have a meetup. It'll be dandy, I swear. Text me. We'll figure it out. On the show this evening, 14 past the hour, the creator, founder, and president and overall CEO and king of the World Food Championships, Mike McCloud, will be joining us. Get a high-level recap of 2019. We'll also talk specifically about the barbecue operation and some other items as well. 35 past the hour, we'll find me visiting with first-timer to the show, but I've been a big fan of his for years. Dane Neal from On the Road with Dane Neal. He has a real radio show, and not on some chump radio station either. I'm talking about the 750 gigawatt WGN 720 Chicago on your AM dial. So we'll be talking with Dane after we talk with Mike, and then we'll move into the second hour, and a guy who I thought I was going to have on quarterly, but of course, when all responsibility is left to me, that means inevitably things will fall apart at some point. It's either through my ineptitude or my lack of preparation or my lack of putting things into the calendar or my offending someone at some point. I mean, the list is endless with things that I will do or not do in order to make sure that I screw something up. However, he's agreed to show up a month and a half before the year ends. That is the first ever full-time barbecue editor in this country. Happens to be for Texas Monthly's publication. Daniel Vaughn. By the way, Barbecue Central Show Hall of Fame guest, I might add. Class of 2018, the inaugural class. So Daniel will be in at least for a full segment, possibly creeping into a second segment. So if he leaves early and you want to jump in and weigh in on something, more than happy to have you in that regard. All right, plenty to get to here right off the bat. Follow me socially at BBQ Central Show, Instagram, Twitter, /BBQ Central Show on Facebook. I want to give a quick mention to the Tailgate Guys Barbecue Podcast, a Kansas City-based show. Recently, they did an interview with Darren Worth from Iowa Smokey D's fame. And there's a portion of this interview that I want to rerun for you right now. It's about 4 minutes long. I did an edit. So I want to jump right in. And if you are a competitor or a person thinking about going into competition, You need to hear this specific clip as it talks about judging in the KCBS right now. And take a listen to this. Hold on a goddamn minute. Take a listen to this. Okay. What the hell are we doing here? That's a thing. That's a thing. Okay, here we go.
Well, you mentioned the jack, and I have to ask you because I saw a social media post. Somebody, and I don't know which category it was, but gave you a 5 in a taste. What category was it, and what in the world did you think about that?
We all know this sport is about hitting the right tables. And the jack somewhat really brought that to a front. And, you know, I've been kind of working a little bit behind the scenes trying to figure out, okay, how do we work on scoring? You know, for instance, they rated the tables of the best, highest scoring table to the lowest scoring table from first to 15th in tables and where you hit. So I get these results back, and I hit the 14th lowest table in chicken. I hit the 14th lowest table in ribs. I hit the lowest table in pork and the 10th lowest table in brisket. So, you know, the fact of the matter is, as soon as Sherry laid those boxes on the table, I never had a chance from that for, because there was anywhere from a 12-point average to a 20-point average difference from first to the last table. You know, and it's part when contests are won by tenths of a point, you can't hit a bad table that has an average 15 points lower than the first table. That's part of the sport, but I'm hoping Emily, you know, at KCBS can really drive some change here and figure out, okay, how do we bring some evenness out into that judging, and how do we make that better? Because I have a feeling there's just a lot of teams don't understand that and really kind of take it personally, and those are the teams that are kind of leaving the sport, and we really don't want that. We want it to be fair judging. And, you know, we all know that everybody doesn't have the best food every single time.
Well, how would you fix that? Have you got any ideas on how to turn that around, that judging?
I think we should leave judging exactly the same that it is. My core belief that I have is there's 3 different systems within the judging system. So if you think about it, when I was trained as a judge in 2003, I was taught everything starts with a 9, only score down if there's a reason to. And then as you fast forward to 2007, 2008, whenever it was, don't have the exact dates, we introduced a judging system that says, okay, we're going to start with a 7 and we're going to go up and down. And then we changed the judging system again, saying, hey, we're just going to attach a description to each one of these numbers, and I want you to pick that. Well, when I was judged, if it was really good, that's a 9. If in the 7s, if it was good, that's a 7. Okay, so difference between a 9 and a 7, 2 different judges, they're saying the same thing. They're just judging off 3 different systems. I think if we could look at statistically after the fact and kind of bring in some variance. So let's bring up the low scoring table statistically based upon that average. So maybe they're going to get some if you're on a low scoring table, maybe you're going to get some bonus points. Maybe if you're on a high scoring table, we're going to deduct some points. But you can't lose fact, and where I always get stuck, you can't lose fact is the scoring on a table may have been very high because they may have had very good food, or they may be very low because they had very bad food. So we can't really just instantly take averages and deal with it, because you got to deal with there is good food and bad food. But, you know, there's instances. Bobby Stanfield is a classic example. #1 brisket cook in the country in KCBS. He's right next to me at the Jack. He loved his brisket. It was great. 87th place brisket because he hit the 15th place brisket table. The first place on my rib table was 50th. The first place on my pork table was 58th. That's #1 on the table. If you hit that table, you were done. I'd say throw away all the numbers and just start writing notes about each deal. Just tell me what you thought. This was way too salty. It was tough. It was really teach them how that, and I know that takes time. I know that takes time in the judging tent, and that's part of the reason that doesn't happen. But, you know, it's hard for somebody new to learn that. It's hard to guess what the judges are doing. But, you know, what I try and do is I try and look at judges' averages, and I try and look at my beating their average. But the problem with that is currently they're only showing the average score for the judge for the entire day. Well, I really care about their judge for chicken. What was their judge for chicken? Because even on the worst tables, they did like some food and they didn't like some food. And if they like food, it's going to be higher than their average, and on the low, it's going to be lower than their average. And I think the answer to the scoring issue falls somewhere in there. It's a matter of figuring out how do we get it done so that it's equitable and fair for everybody.
Now, that's a huge point. By the way, thanks to the Tailgate Guys Barbecue Show for letting me rerun that sound. For all the times that I've become disoriented or confused about why everybody hates judging, this was very simply put. The best brisket cook in the country finished 85th in brisket at the Jack because he hit the table that scored the worst out of the 15th place table. He was screwed. He was not going to be winning brisket because he hit that table. Very easy to understand. Darren Worth explains it all. If you missed it and you're just tuning into the show, go back and get it in podcast. It'll be ready tomorrow morning. Now, there was one other thing that Darren mentioned during this, and everybody that is a competitor should take note. Like, really take note.
We had a year of fun. You know what? Next year, we're going to have a year of winning.
Yeah, we've had a year of fun. Next year, we're going to have a year of winning. You heard it here. If there's any team that can call their shot and feel really good about having fun in 2019 and having a year of winning in 2020, that's a team I'm going to put money down on, by the way. If Darren Worth is saying that it's going to be a year of winning next year, I might hold off to start my competition career till 2021. Again, thanks to the Tailgate Guys Barbecue Show for letting me rerun that sound that Darren Worth broke down the deficiencies currently, as pointed out at the Jack Daniels a couple weeks ago. Mike McCloud coming up out of the break. I'll talk to you quickly about Green Mountain Grills. I was just talking to somebody about Green Mountain Grills earlier in the day. They said, hey, should I get a prime? Should I get a classic? How should I consider sizes I should get? Let me tell you a little bit about it. You know, if you want to save a few thin gilders, look at the classic line. A prime or a classic Jim Bowie isn't bigger one or the other. They're all the same size. The prime gets you a little sturdier build, gets you a little bit more tech, get you double the amount of internal meat probes. You get the looking glass in the meat chamber and in the pellet hopper. 12-volt power technology on the prime line as well. Also, 12-volt technology through the prime, as I just said. Jim Bowie Daniel boom. Of course, the Davy Crockett is the small one. That's portable. That is the creator or the originator of the 12-volt technology that the prime line uses now. If you have a family of 4 or 5, you could probably get away with the Daniel Boone. I would recommend going Jim Bowie. Always buy bigger. You have the option. You don't have to cook all of the food all of the time. It's a very efficient cooker. You can make use of a bigger cooker and not have to stuff it full of food each and every time. Don't worry about efficiency and all that crap. If you have any questions, hit the website or call them up. GreenMountainGrills.com. That's GreenMountainGrills.com. Or visit a dealer near you. Look at their dealer locator on the website. They also sell barbecue pellets and sauces and rubs and other accessories. You know what they have, the pizza oven, right? The Jim Bowie and the Daniel Boone will accommodate the pizza oven. Rip the guts out, and now you're having a pizza party. It's so fun. GreenMountainGrills.com. That's GreenMountainGrills.com. We're back with Mike McCloud after this. Stick around.
Broadcasting live from the Barbecue Central Show studios in Cleveland, Ohio. You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
This portion of the show is being brought to you by Butcher's Barbecue, makers of award-winning injections, marinades, rubs, seasonings, sauces, grilling oils. The list goes on. All of Butcher Barbecue products tested on the circuit, as well as backyards worldwide. Be the pitmaster of your neighborhood. Visit butcherbbq.com to stock up now, always. Trust your butcher. My next guest, the president, CEO of MMA Creative, also the creator of the World Food Championships, and that is the topic of conversation tonight with some potentially big news. We'll see what he is allowed or not allowed. We will race to the hotline and welcome in longtime friend of this show, Mike McCloud. Hey, Mike.
Hey, Greg. How are you?
I'm absolutely fabulous. Appreciate you making time for the show. So first things first, Mike, before we get into any nifty announcements because of where you're at this evening and then obviously into the World Food Championship, how's fatherhood treating you?
Oh, my God. That is a great question. It is keeping me young and making me old at the same time. Is that a fair statement? Someone told me, and they were absolutely right, that the days are long, but the years are short. And I can't believe that Tucker is almost already 2 years old. Every day is special and new and enriching through the eyes of a child. So I'm really enjoying this chapter of my life and blessed to have it.
Mike, I was confirming with you earlier today that the time slot was going to work and that everything logistically was still going to happen. You had mentioned, and I quote, "This is an interesting moment for me," close quote. Is that anything you can elaborate on at the moment?
Yeah, so this is how much I think of you, Greg, and your show. I could be eating apple crisp turnover right now with Jennifer Garner. She's about 150 yards away from me, hosting a big party in Malibu, California with Walmart. And we're out here with Lydia Haddadian, our recipe champion. She cooked with Jennifer earlier tonight. And we just had a wonderful, wonderful evening. And it still goes on. So I'm hoping she doesn't feel like I blew her off just to come hang with you. I'll check in on her later about that.
Wow. Mike, what can I say? I mean, rarely am I speechless. Now, to prove that I am a complete douche, is there any way you can grab her and put her on the phone with me?
Well, if I could get through the 3 bodyguards that are around her,
Yes.
Maybe.
Yes.
And she's got a contingency of people that's very protective and secure of her time. So,
yeah. Well, I would.
as she should, at her level of stardom.
That's right. Great actress and a legendary beauty, at least in my mind, is Jennifer Garner. All right, so forget about all of that. Let's talk 2019 World Food Championships, Mike, and we are with Mike McCloud. Let's just go like from a high level right off the top. Like, where do you rate a 2019 version of World Food Championships versus the years past? What kind of a scale are you giving it?
Well, it's hard to answer because there's so many layers of that question in my mind. When I look at it from a strategic standpoint, it was absolutely the most strategic event we've ever done. When I look at it from a beauty standpoint, right in the heart of a big city with the backdrop that Dallas provided, it was number one out of everything we've done. When I look at it from media attention, it was number one. When I look at it from a logistics, I go into a cocoon and I start getting into my little my own little infant child protecting feed because it was tough. It was really, really tough to do. And I know anyone who's there, especially in barbecue or a steak and some other categories, probably felt some of that toughness with us. But it was what we needed. It's what World Food Championships and food sport needed. Taking it to the next level, trying to bring a lot more attention, a lot more awareness, a lot more companies into the mix. We did every bit of that, and we had major success with not only Walmart, but with a bunch of other new big thoroughbreds that we hope to be running with in 2020. And the machine, the inner workings of the machine in Kitchen Arena just worked fantastically well. I'm super proud of my team and our independent contractors and our ambassadors and our judge coordinators. They all just did a fantastic job and allowed me to put my eye on a few other important bouncing balls. So, it's a mixed bag. Anytime you go to a new city, new location, you open up the whole event logistics Pandora's box. And we had a few of those things that bit us on the ankles and sometimes in the other place in the derriere. But overall, I was extremely happy with 2019.
Mike McCloud joining me here on the show, the creator of World Food Championships, recapping the 2019 version that happened a couple weeks ago. All right, so I'm going to kind of hit you with some things that I had heard or things that will filtered through to me, and then you can tell me what's true, false, or what the real straight dope is. From an attendance standpoint, and I'm not talking about competitors, but just from a crowd standpoint, is it an event that attracts people, and did you get foot traffic or public-facing events to the tune that you were hoping for, or is that not something that you're considering as this goes on?
Absolutely, I'm considering it. We did have pretty good foot traffic, not what I wanted, but we ended up having a major parking hurdle that popped up about a week prior to the event happening, and we didn't know about it with the venue site. So that's one of the reasons we will not be back to that venue. If there's some news for you, we're not going to go back to Reunion Tower for a couple of reasons. The special events we did, Bourbon Q and Grand Tasting, were sellouts, so those were fantastic. Our attendance overall this year versus last year was down a little bit, which is not what we expected because we are in such a big market, but it was so hard to get to Reunion Tower, and then if you were lucky enough to find a parking spot, you could get in. So those were noticeable dominoes that happened as we were unfolding the event. But we still had over 20,000 something people over the course of 5 days that visited World Food Championships. And while that's important, eventually we want it to be 50, 60,000 people. What's more important to us are the strategic purposes and reasons behind the event, and the teams getting there and doing their thing and getting rewarded for it. Our award night programs are great. So lots of checks and a few side slants and a few X's in the process. But that's, we were dealing with 6 acres, Greg. 6 acres of property. Wow. I challenge anybody to activate 6 acres of property. It probably takes 100,000 people to fill that up. So I know it probably looks sparse to certain people at certain times, but we were filling it in all corners. Trust me, because we had our thumbprint or thumb on the heartbeat the whole time.
Mike, is the parking thing something that is not availed to you as an issue by the city, or is it overlooked? That does seem to be kind of an issue you would want to know about well in advance to try and either work around it or maybe switch locations.
I'm going to tell you, just for the sake of being protective of measures that may be in the works for us, there were 3 parking lots that were supposed to be allocated by the host property for our event. And 2 of them got taken away about a week out based on a buyout from another convention that was in the hotel. And we did not know about it until it happened. And as you can imagine, as an event promoter who should have had first dibs on that, I was not happy about that.
No doubt. So where do we move next year? If it's not going to be at Reunion Tower or Square or whatever it's called, where are you going to be at next year?
There's 2 places in Texas or in Dallas that we'd already looked at and chosen not to go there because we thought Reunion Tower was going to be ideal. One is the State Fair. They have phenomenal parking, phenomenal facilities. It just would push us back into probably the first weekend of November because of the State Fair doesn't end until in mid-October. So we wouldn't be able to do our event while the State Fair is going on, and we have to give them time to tear down. Mm-hmm. So that's option 1. Option 2, there's a place called Market Hall in Dallas, downtown Dallas, that hosts a lot of big events. They host the Taste of Dallas. They host a major boat show and things like that, and there's plenty of parking there too, and a lot of Hilton hotels around that property. So those are the 2 I'm looking at right now, and already deep into conversations about what are the ideal dates, what are the hiccups, what are the hurdles, et cetera, et cetera.
So let me ask you just off the cuff, is it more important for the World Food Championships to maintain a consistency in date, or is it more important to sacrifice a consistency in date in order to have a better venue? And I'm asking this question from a American Royal standpoint, and I think you know where I'm going with that. It's moved venues on a number of times. It's moved dates a number of times to the point where people started complaining that, hey, it's now falling in Labor Day, or I can't figure out where I'm going to put it on my calendar, so I'm going to skip it. Like, they're skipping the biggest event during the course of a barbecue season.
Yeah, so I think that's a really good question. For us, it's about getting the venue right and then ultimately settling in on that venue and that date forevermore. Remember, we've only done 8 of these.
Yep.
If I were the Royal or the Jack or Memphis in May, going through 4 or 5 venue changes in the last 6-7 years, I'd be really concerned about that. For us, it's a little bit different. You know, everyone watched us move. We've been in Vegas. We had 2 different locations in Vegas. We've been to Florida, tried that, didn't work, so we found another avenue, and then we were at the same location in Orange Beach. The same location in Orange Beach really only benefited us operationally and logistically. It didn't benefit us from a consumer attendance standpoint because we pretty much got every human being that ate food to come out to a World Food Championships in Orange Beach. But ultimately it's not what we need to have major sponsors on board who are looking for both the industry influencers but also consumers to do sampling with. So we have to find the right venue. And if that pushes us back into the first weekend of November or something like that, so be it. You know, I thought that this year, being the week before the Jack or being the week after Jack would be a good weekend choice strategically for international teams. And it turns out that there just wasn't a coupling there. There wasn't a strategic way to help or to get teams to stay longer or come in earlier. And so now I'm not going to worry about that anymore. You know, we'll have international teams come to us because they want to, based on our date, not because they happen to be in Tennessee at the Jack, either the weekend before or weekend after. It's no longer a part of my thinking.
Mike McCloud joining me here on the show. Mike, let's talk categories for a second. Is there a popular or a most popular category of all the segments that end up making up the top 10? Is there one that you see most participation in? So between between burger and chili and recipe and chef, is there one of those that gets the most entrance?
Well, over the last couple of years, it's been steak. But of course we have to limit burger and other categories, and burger has always been a sellout. I think it would be number 1 if I had no limitation on it. But steak has been number 1 for the last couple of years. Barbecue has always been a pretty good number. It's always been 50 or more teams until this year. I think we ended up settling in about 43 teams. We limited it to 50 because we had logistic limitations where we went, and we thought it was going to look cool to ring, and it looked cool to ring our event grid with barbecue. It's probably the closest barbecue it ever did. Orange Beach, it surrounded 2 perimeters, but in Dallas, it surrounded all sides. So barbecue, you know, we started out barbecue being number 1 as far as attendance because there was no limitation to it. I had 40 kitchen sets. I think those 3 are the key. But I tell you, if anyone's really paying attention to what's going on in World Food Championships, we're seeing, you know, the bacon category, the recipe category, the dessert category, all these other categories are popping up, man. They're strong in and of themselves. There's not. I think probably the weakest category, to be honest with you, is chef, and that's primarily because it's such a long and hard grind for a working chef to come spend 5, 6, 7 days at World Food Championships. So all the categories are pretty strong in and of themselves.
All right, so let's take the barbecue category. This is a barbecue and grilling based show. So, and if I'm making too bold of a statement, back me down. But you know, you had said 40 or so teams. When I was looking up individual categories, there was an IBCA portion, there was an EAT portion. I think there were like 30 or so teams in the IBCA portion. And I mean, in Texas, right, you're in the epicenter of IBCA country. And if you have 30 or 35 teams, and then you fast forward a week, so this past weekend there was an IBCA event in Waxahachie, Texas. There were 285 teams. Now, granted, I understand that you say you cap teams, but if you're not maxing it out, do ultimately we look at the barbecue section? And you've had a long history in barbecue, and there was a relationship with KCBS, and there was a lot of good contacts made there over 10 years or so. Is it about time we take barbecue to the back of the shed and put this dog down in the end of the day here?
Oh my gosh, you're really trying to make them use. I'm looking at barbecue pretty hard for numerous reasons. Obviously, there's a land grab issue.
Yeah.
In barbecue, it takes a lot of space, and that has been limiting for us for many, many years, or almost every year. Number two, I do see a lot of downward trends in barbecue, just in number of participating teams overall at many events. And I see, the growth popping in other areas, not other categories. But it's going to be hard for me to let go of barbecue, period, because of Tony Stone. Tony Stone is the guy who brought me into this whole food sport arena. He was a barbecue nut. He was a mentor of mine. He was a mayor of my city. And he's the one who first coaxed me into even considering going into competition food. So as long as I'm breathing and sometimes smiling, I believe there's going to be a place for barbecue at World Food Championships. Now, will that morph into something else? I'll tell you something that we really, really enjoyed this year. And it was a limited situation working with the National Barbecue League. They brought 10 guys in and had their own competition within the competition, and they helped us pull off an event called Barbecue, and it was absolutely a home run for the event. As far as just a fun evening, great barbecue, great pit masters, Johnny Trigg and Tim Shear and Fred Robles. I mean, maybe it's not about quantity anymore, Greg. It's probably more about quality. And if I do anything as far as cutting back on barbecue, it's probably going to be a step in the invitational direction, where I just invite the top 10 or top 20 barbecue teams in America based on some parameter, and we leave it at that. We still awarded over $30,000 of prize money, which is 3x what they pay. If you do the simple math, we had 43 total teams paying $300 pop. So you got $12,000, and you look at a guy like me paying out around $30,000 in prize money. That math doesn't add up anyway. So I am looking at it. I'm thinking through it. I really enjoyed working with the National Barbecue League. I hope that they enjoy working with us. And I think there's something to be said for that. If we end up going to a location like the State Fair, where we could put 100, 200 teams in play, we may make another stab at it.
I mean,
we may take another.
Do you think you would get 200 teams?
Do
you think you would get 200 teams of interest if you had the land available?
I think we could if we did a lot harder marketing. We didn't do a whole lot of marketing for barbecue in Texas, and there's a whole lot of IBCA teams that don't know who we are or what we're about. But after this year, they can't say that. There's a whole lot of discussion and buzz going on in Texas about World Food Championships, because now a lot of people are saying, "Oh, I didn't really think you were. I didn't know what you were." And of course, you always have to do that when you go into a community. You have to show them what it is, and you can tell them all day long, but you got to show them at the end of the day. But I think we could get a big IBCA contingency, and we will take that into consideration based on the venue choice that we make in the next 30, 45 days.
Mike, I'm going to give you a even better idea, free of charge, and we know what we say when we offer free advice. You get what you pay for. We remove
I'll take all the free advice I can get right now.
Here we go. We remove barbecue and we add pizza. Everybody loves pizza. Come on, that's a winner. You know that's a winner.
That would be, but there's a great national pizza contest that exists. It's in Vegas every year, and I went to it. We almost started with pizza, and then I saw what the National Pizza Federation or whatever it is. I saw what they were doing, and I thought, nah, I don't want to try to top that. They're doing a good job with it, so didn't want to interrupt it. But you're right. I mean, pizza's a fun category, but there's other categories. I mean, category topics or category focus is not the problem. The problem in our world is just running a massive tournament that's a Rubik's Cube of coloring competition. I mean, if you think a barbecue contest with 4 turn-ins is a big sticky wicket, you need to come check us out because you haven't seen anything. We run three flights a day, up to 40 contestants in each flight. We do that 3 days in a row, and then we go to the top 10 finals for one more challenge. It's 5 days of food insanity, man. So adding an 11th category or 12th category or 13th category, which we know we could do, has been on the hold button for a while because we knew we were going to have to leave Orange Beach. Didn't want to, but we knew we had to ultimately to get to a big metroplex. And we couldn't add a new category in Dallas when we knew we were going to face logistical hurdles that we didn't even know of yet, which happened. So as we look into 2020 and 2021, I think you're going to start seeing some interesting things happen with us as far as expansion and perhaps category changes.
All right, we will keep our eye on that. It is worldfoodchampionship.com. That's the website. We're talking with Mike McCloud. Mike, please race right into Jennifer Garner and give her my best regards. Tell her to sign up for the podcast, all that stuff. And if she ever wants to be a guest on the show, I hope I can use you and count on you as the conduit.
Yeah, I certainly will. We'll open that door for you. You have 60 more seconds.
Yeah, go ahead.
So there is one thing I want to share with you, which the industry needs to be aware of. One of the things that we know is challenging for barbecue is that they have to come in on a Tuesday and wait all week until what they think is their contest, even though we do ancillaries.
Right.
Try to have fun and let them make extra money. We're changing the format in 2020, no matter what. The opening rounds in 2020 are now going to be on the weekend. They're going to be Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We're going to finally mirror the consumer days with the opening round days when we're at full mast in competition. We're going to be at full mast with activation for consumers. And then we're going to start shrinking on Monday and Tuesday when the top 10. So if you think about that, what it does for a team is it allows them to take less time off from work unless they make the top 10s, and then they're happy to take an extra day or two off.
Always.
Because they know in the money, right? So that is a format change that is coming in 2020. The first day of competition will be on a Friday. It will not be on a Wednesday.
All right, you heard it here, hopefully first, that this is an unveiling as far as format is concerned for barbecue. So if that's something that's been sticking in your craw and you still want to get after it in 2020, then this is going to be right up your alley. And we're talking with Mike McCloud, creator of the World Food Championships. Mike, always appreciate the time, my friend.
Same here, Greg. Have a good night.
You got it. There he is, Mike McCloud. Please kiss Jennifer Garner for me. What? Don't do that. Let me do that. All right, we're over, but that was very good stuff. Mike McCloud revealing 2 things on the show this evening. They are moving venues. I did hear about that. That was one of my questions I heard rumblings on, although they have not nailed down a place yet. It's either going to be at the fairgrounds or, what's it called? Manset Hall or Magnet Hall. So we'll see how that shakes out. And new format for barbecue. We'll start on Friday and go through Saturday, Sunday. There you go. Yeah. Do that next. Up next is Dane Neal, WGN Radio, on the road with Dane. Maybe he's got some things to react to from the conversation with Mike McCloud, get his take on World Food Championships. Then we'll talk Chicago, of course. You're listening and watching the Barbecue Central Show right here on the Barbecue Central Network. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Continuing to produce incredibly mediocre content in an exceptionally professional way. You're listening and watching the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
This portion of the show being brought to you by CookinPellets.com, your number one source for quality wood pellets for all your pellet-driven cookers. Visit CookinPellets.com for more information to purchase. You can also visit Amazon.com to purchase as well. By the way, conversation that I had with Chris Becker last week in regards to pellet soaking 2019. Yeah. A lot of great reaction to that. A lot of people asking me questions outside of the show as well, as far as pellets are concerned. Hey, my next guest can be heard each Saturday from 2 to 4 Central on the Mega Blowtorch that is known as WGN 720 in Chicagoland, with his show On the Road with Dane Neal, a lover of live fire, barbecue, grilling, and eating in general. And what a town to be a fan of food in. Chicago slotted in as my second favorite city currently, second only to Indianapolis, of course. Here to talk some live fire topics and some of the best places to eat in Chicago, if you're going to be there, is first-timer to the show, Dane Neal. Hey, Dane.
Hey, Greg, how are you doing?
I'm absolutely fabulous, my friend, and great to have you here on the show. So we welcome you into the friendly confines of the Barbecue Central show. And
wow, I love it. A little homage to Wrigley on the friendly confines reference, and I'm excited. I got to tell you, as a first-timer here, as a big fan of the program, big fan of you and what it is that you do. I appreciate you having me on.
Well, it's certainly my pleasure, Dane, and I'm happy that we're able to finally get together here and connect. So for the folks that maybe aren't familiar with Dane Neal specifically and On the Road with Dane Neal, maybe a little background about you and perhaps if you've always been involved in communications and radio.
Well, okay, sure. So 20-plus years in radio and kind of the traditional radio side of things. Of course, podcasting, huge. Now we do a certain amount of that as well, but started in radio on here in Chicago and on the food side, creating Restaurant Radio America that aired on 65 stations around the country, covering the places and personalities of the food scene. So anybody that you as far as like Food Network or Master Chef or Top Chef or a lot of those personalities we've have as friends, many in the barbecue world, we have as fellow colleagues and friends in the world of live fire and barbecue. And so on the radio side there and stations around the country on the syndicated side, did a bunch of auto racing stuff too. So kind of an odd combination there, as well as like regular, morning drive, afternoon drive, a bunch of different things there. And then as far as home base, Chicago has been the home base, although we've, been at different events around the country and certainly on stations around the country, but WGN here in Chicago, for those people familiar, even if you're not from Chicago, it's one of the bigger, older stations in the country, reaching like 38 states in Canada at night, the greater Midwest at all times. So if you're going to pick a station to be on with some great history, WGN is not a bad place to be.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Dane, what's the biggest misconception that people have about if somebody has a radio show or not?
The biggest misconception.
Yeah.
If someone has a radio show, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I know that you get concert tickets to everything, but you always have a backstage pass. Maybe that's it. Maybe that everybody in radio is super wealthy. It's just not the case. I don't know. I'm not sure. What do you think? Well, so maybe this coming from you as a guy who is I think every bit of a radio personality, especially in the barbecue and food world, as anybody in the country. What are some either misconceptions or stereotypes or things that you have that we could dispel right here?
Oh, well, I mean, I certainly agree with you 100% on the whole wealth thing. I had once read an article recently that completely dispelled the riches myth of podcasting. And basically, there was a very small singular percentage of folks, and these are folks who, so for instance, a Joe Rogan, a Mark Maron, Tim Ferriss, like these are guys that are mega popular on their own already.
Yeah.
And then they have these huge podcast audience. Now, I mean, the shows themselves, if you're into their content, are really good. Like Joe Rogan is a really good broadcaster, or I would say I find his interview technique to be pretty disarming, and that's why he's successful, and he can get away with what he's doing. But he is so far in the smallest percentile of successful podcasts. So if you think you can start a pod, like you in general can just start a podcast and the money is going to start rolling in, that's misconception number one by far, like far and away, that you're just going to do a podcast and you're going to start making money. And then second, I think if you have a podcast and you have some kind of following, and maybe I'm a little bit more conscious about this than the other stuff, is that somehow you are elevated to a expert's position. And I might be an expert in some things, but I can get out of my depths on a lot of things very quickly. So I never try to position myself, especially as a food expert by any stretch of the imagination. I'm always happy to point out that I talk with experts. I position my show as I'm the ESPN of the live fire industry. I'm going to talk to the experts.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask them questions, and we're all going to learn together. But don't necessarily pitch me or pigeonhole me as some type of expert. That makes me very uncomfortable. Do you feel similar?
Yeah, exactly. And I think of you, Greg, and this show is kind of like the breaking news of barbecue, giving kind of the live situation on a weekly basis of what's happening and the personalities out there. And I like to think of myself, and probably based on what you just said, as kind of a conduit to the experts and a conduit to the entertainer and the people that you really want to hear from. You know, we'll have them on, we'll channel them in a real live way, and then have them on. I think of myself as an enthusiast. I'm not a restaurant critic, but we highlight the personality, some of those great stories, and certainly that great information and knowledge from of people in the food world. So I agree. It's kind of like that. Of course, I think just by nature of what it is that you do on a regular basis, you're going to just compile some information.
Mm-hmm.
And so you may, people will consistently ask you, okay, so what do you like, or where do you want to go, or sure, I've got thoughts, but you're right. I'm not Steven Reichland, but we'll have him on a regular basis, just like you.
Dane Neal joining me here on the show. You can find him Saturdays from 2 to 4 Central on WGN 720. That's WGNradio.com, I believe. And you can hear him on the road with Dane as he talks live fire and also auto racing and some other items. Dane, let's talk a little bit about the Chicago barbecue or live fire scene. And there is history there. There's rib tips, there's aquarium cookers, there's Lem's barbecue. Yes. I mean, there is a specific Chicago-based barbecue niche there. But how are you seeing it, taking it from, let's say, a Lem's or a rib tips or those kind of cookers and fast-forwarding it to 2019? How have you seen the growth, and how does it look now?
Well, I think just like in a lot of different places, barbecue is kind of in a renaissance, right? It's kind of becoming more, not only more popular, it's always been popular, but kind of more publicly popular. And I think where a lot of people are understanding, some of the extra things that you can do, whether it's the smoking or whether it's some of the extra equipment with the Kamados and the pellet smokers, the average person is getting involved. And certainly Chicago is a big, smoking and grilling town, regardless of the weather. I think we're at 8 degrees today with some places -10 with the wind chill. You can bet there's some people out there kind of smoking and grilling. So I think here's the thing with Chicago is, and I think with any place, is that you sort of get an identity, and with us, maybe it's, occasional sports success, architecture, rampant crime, political corruption. These are things that we know, we accept, and we embrace. On the barbecue side, there's a lot more going on, I think, at a high level than we get credit for. And part of it is because it's such a big city and it's known for lots of things, whereas maybe some of the smaller kind of regions or areas, barbecue is really one of the main things that they're really, really proud of. Because you think about, so you've got Barry Sorkin from Smoke, great stuff. You've got Charlie McKenna, Lily's Q, they're doing some great stuff. You even got some great, barbecue personalities that come from Chicago, whether people know it or not. Dave Anderson from Famous Dave's. Yep. You got Ray Lampe, a devoted Chicagoan. Granted, he's moved on to better weather, but he's in Chicago all the time. Dave Ram, Sweet Baby Ray's. So the barbecue sauce, yep. whether you're a huge fan of it, there certainly are a lot, 40% of the market share. So there's a lot happening in Chicago. I got an opportunity a few years ago to MC the Great Chicago Barbecue Tour, where we visited a lot of those places, like Honey One and Lems, and you got the aquarium smokers and all of that kind of stuff. But there's a lot of like regular traditional barbecue and barbecue personalities that are doing it kind of in a big way on a regular basis right here.
Dane, one of the other food items. So to me, Chicago is Chicago style barbecue. Then you have the tourist trap of deep dish pizza. But the other item that everybody raves about is this Italian beef. So,
Greg, you say it like it's some sort of exotic, like animal or a plant or something. This thing, how you say, the Italian beef.
This thing called the Italian beef. But the Italian beef only seems to have this celebratory status in Chicago. I mean, certainly you can make it anywhere or probably have it anywhere, but it seems to live and breathe its best in Chicago. Why is that?
Well, I think there's some kind of indigenous delicacies that are really just people get brought up, accepting, and they have some sort of romantic attachment to it. But if you bring in people from out of it's really not that good. It doesn't have that kind of traveling power, staying power. I'll contend, beyond the deep dish pizza, that the Italian beef is really kind of a sleeper, dark horse. I think it's got all the potential in the world, and more so that if people kind of link it to its distant cousin, if you do a 23andMe, slightly related to sort of the Philly cheesesteak, but the Italian beef is great. And I think when you get people in and you have them try it, it can be, I don't want to say it's a religious experience, but people have one of those, I didn't know it could be like this moments if it's done well. So there's different versions. So in Chicago, the original is Bona Beef. They're the ones who created it. You got Al's Beef. It's sort of like a genesis moment, kind of like a deep dish pizza side, where there's a few families that got together, then they sprouted off and became sort of leaders in the industry. And you're going to see, I'm going to predict it, that let's say a Bona Beef is going to be able to go ahead and take the Italian beef, the Chicago-style Italian beef, regardless of how you like it, whether you want it, dipped, or you want the giardiniera, or you want the mozzarella, however you want to do it, is going to be something you're going to see in places all over the country, even in Cleveland.
Really?
I think so. I really think so. Now, did you get, when you were in here and we had an opportunity to play host to the one and only Greg Remby, did you get a chance to try? I mean, I know you were doing a lot of stuff, certainly the barbecue recon. Did you get a chance to try the beef?
No, I didn't get a chance to do beef, but I mean, that Sunday I was racing around to all not the tourist spots, but all the spots that I had been kind of cultivating through experts in Chicago that said, oh, if you're going to get barbecue, you should go here and not there. And if you're going to go get pizza, you should go here and go there. And of course, I had that burger at Ogival and just happened to go at the right time. And certainly that was a wonderful experience. Chicago is a great food town. I went to RPM Steakhouse on one of those evenings as well. That was kind of a life-changing experience, both from a steak, and it was great, and also my wallet took a fantastic hit, life-changing experience.
Yeah.
But, once in a while, no big deal. I mean, what do you are finding to be like the hottest food, regardless of culinary or cuisine? What are the hottest food spots that you know of that people are talking about around Chicago right now?
Well, one is just, and I'm not sure if you guys have them in Ohio, but this just opened yesterday. I was at the sort of preview thing on Saturday. It's Cooper's Hawk. So Cooper's Hawk it's a winery and restaurant. They're in a bunch of different cities. I think they have 40 locations now. I think 41 now. And again, if I'm going to pull out my culinary crystal ball and say, like, this is something that is going to be, it already is big. So this isn't, I'm not really making too much the leap on the prediction side, but so they just opened their first location in the city proper, and it's a winery and restaurant. And I've, like I said, I've broadcast live from the Aspen Food and Wine Classic in New York City and South Beach and all sorts of different places where the wine scene is kind of accepted as kind of pretentious and stuffy. It can be less approachable. And their whole thing is to make wine approachable, that there aren't necessarily as many rules with it, whatever it is that you like, but they're making wine that is rated really high. They were at the Oscars. They were, I think, at the Emmys. They have like super high rated wines. I think it's the 27th biggest winery right now. Thing is, it started right in the Chicagoland area, which is not known. I don't know, I'm like globe out, but I know that it's not, one of the accepted and recognized wine centers of the world. And so they're really if they've got a wine club with like 500,000 members in the wine club, they do travel. So what they're doing is bringing people that are open to the idea of liking wine and kind of, making it approachable and making it fun. They're making some great food too. So that's one thing. And that place is going to have, even though it's not, you got to think about this, is they had, at that opening, you had so many of the fine dining stars of Chicago that you would think of like, well, hey, this is a chain. This is, but you had the guys from the Boca Group. You had Joe Flam, who just won Top Chef. You had, even on the beef side, you had some hot dog, the Chicago hot dog and beef. Vic Portillo was there. Yep. So there were tips of the cap from all over the place. So that's one place. And then you've got, Alinea. You've got, Grant X's place. The Girl in the Goat with Steph Izard's place. Rick Bayless is always an attraction, whereas maybe 20 years ago it was Charlie Trotter's, and now there's lots of places to see.
Dane, let me ask you before I let you go, and I appreciate the time this evening, about is it the Smoke Down? Is that the one that's held at the racetrack?
It's the BBQ Smoke Down at Chicagoland Speedway. We have quite a few things that are happening. Some exciting stuff is going to be going on. I think a little bit after Thanksgiving, we'll be making some announcements as far as the personalities that are there, some great sponsors and partners that are going to be involved, the prize dollars, and all sorts of really cool stuff. It was something that hadn't been done before, at least in this area, to bring during a race weekend, a NASCAR race weekend, and bringing in some of the biggest personalities in barbecue. We had Myron Mixon and Ray Lampe and Chris Lilly, and Famous Dave was there. There was a bunch of and 40 teams, some of the top teams in the country were there. Some of our great teams from the Chicagoland area, with Steamboat, and Getting Based was there, and Shake and Bake, and there's a bunch of different great teams that participated in integrating it into the NASCAR race, where the barbecue Hall of Famers were in on the drivers meeting, were in on the drivers introductions. So there was a lot of great connections. So we're kind of smoothed out some of the bumps in the road there, but just super well received. And now, of course, you've had Emily Detweiler from KCBS, and she's enterprising and has some really exciting things. And so we're going to build them into some of these things too. But I'll keep you guys posted. Obviously, it's going to be a week earlier. It's going to be June, I think, the 19th to the 21st. But it's going to be great. And hopefully, Greg, you can come out and be a part of it too.
Well, we will see me and traveling, Dane, right? I mean, it's like one of my favorite things ever.
First class.
However, it's pretty close. I mean, the plane ride's even closer. So Chicago, and it's my second favorite city, so I never want to just immediately disqualify like I would like every other city. But it's definitely it's a firm maybe for sure.
It's not Topeka, Kansas, and we'll lure you out. Maybe we'll have that great kind of Italian beef meetup. We'll do that as part of a program.
All right. I like the way this is sounding, and we're talking with Dane Neal. You can find him at WGN720.com, and Saturdays from 2 to 4 Central. He is on the road with Dane Neal, first-timer here to the Barbecue Central show, but definitely will be coming on again, hopefully regularly. This is Dane Neal. Dane, appreciate the time, my man.
Thanks, Greg. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, there he is, Dane Neal, first timer into the show. And again, you can check him out on his own real. Oh, no.
Big name interviews, advice on cooking brisket and ribs, and the only host willing to share his honest opinion on all things important in the world of barbecue. It's the Barbecue Central Show.
Maybe I do need to look into getting a producer. These other fancy people running around with producers. This portion of the show is being brought to you by Southside Market, established in 1882, oldest barbecue joint in Texas. They do the beef sausage, all the other sausages too, by the way. On-site USDA inspected facility, 2 restaurants for you to try, Elgin, Texas since 1882, and Bastrop, Texas since 2014. 10% off coupon online. When you use code BBQ Central, that's BBQ CENTRAL, BBQ Central, all one word. Get 10% off your purchase when you visit SouthsideMarket.com. All right, that was Dane Neal. We'll be back to recap this first hour. When we come back, you are listening to the Barbecue Central Show right here on the Barbecue Central Network.
This is Jimmy Burns from Melbourne, Ohio, and you're listening to Barbecue Central.
Happy to have you aboard here for the really big barbecue show.
Boing.
We cook because we have to, and we grill because we want to.
Hit me!
Fine, how's it going?
You have a great show. I'm a big fan.
Boing.
So what seems to be the problem here? This man looks like he's dead and he's in the crackle.
Charbono! It's all about the charbono, dude!
Succulent fish. What?
He ate 2 feet or wiener.
So listen, Liberty, it's shit feast.
I'm shaking like a dog shit peach seeds.
We have top men working on it right now. Top men.
All right, just like that, we are into the second hour. I got to play catch-up. This portion brought to you by Fireboard. Monitor up to 6 different temperatures simultaneously. Connect to Wi-Fi for cloud-based monitoring or connect via Bluetooth. If you have Alexa or Google Assistant in your home, you're in luck because Fireboard is fully integrated with both. Find out more by visiting fireboard.com or call 816-945-2232. And I believe that catches me up on that. Yes. I have an email from Doug Durda. Yinzers. Hey, Greg, last Tuesday night, Wilson's Barbecue was destroyed by a fire during the dinner rush. They haven't said officially what caused it, but it sounds like a grease fire. Wilson's has been a staple of Pittsburgh's North Side for the last 59 years and in their current location since 1970. While living in Louisiana, George Wilson Sr. learned the trade from watching his great-grandfather. Mr. Wilson passed away last year at the age of 90 and was still working the fire when that happened. And his son, George Jr., took over the business from Dad. Neighbors and friends have started a GoFundMe page to help the son reopen the business. Yins made a link to the coverage of the fire and to donate. He sent me a bit link, which I hate. I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to tell you exactly where to go. So it's Yins, Y-I-N-Z, yinslovebbq.com. Oh, dear. Right, well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to stick it in the YouTube chat. Nope. Now I am. And if you feel like donating, or probably just go to yinslovebbq.com and it'll be up there. The title line is Pittsburgh Iconic, Wilson's Barbecue Destroyed in Fire. Fundraiser started. So I'm doing my pal from Pittsburgh, and I never thought I'd say that out loud. Pal and Pittsburgh, that's what I'm talking about. Never mind, you wouldn't get it. It's a Cleveland thing. It's a Cleveland-Pittsburgh thing. So I'm helping my pal Doug Durda out. Doug, hopefully that gets the eyeballs you're looking for. Shout out to Doug. By the way, check out yinslovebbq.com. If you're going to be in Pittsburgh and you are a lover of live fire, his website is absolutely thorough and chocked full of all great reviews and maps and everything that's going on live fire related in the greater Pittsburgh area. And it is really one of the more thorough websites out there covering live fire. And it's specific to the city of Pittsburgh, surrounding areas too, like, Butler, perhaps a Greensburg, Bethel Park, Indiana, Pennsylvania. Did you know there's really an Indiana, Pennsylvania? That's truth. Still to come on this show this evening, Daniel Vaughn from Texas Monthly. He's the barbecue editor over there also. You can follow me socially at BBQ Central Show on Instagram, Twitter. You can also friend me up on the Facebook /BBQ Central Show on Facebook. Let me give you a cautionary anecdote here as it relates to Facebook. I think a lot of us still use Facebook a lot. I have a personal page. I've gone through this before. I just want to refresh this because I've been getting an inordinate amount of friend requests on my personal page. If you don't know this, because you don't have a business page or a fan page or some stupid thing like this, like I have for the show, you have to have a personal page on Facebook in order to have additional pages. So I can't have my Barbecue Central page without having my Greg Rempe Facebook page. But years ago, I got some great advice from someone. They said, well, are you interested in keeping a personal Facebook page? I said, I don't give a shit about keeping a personal Facebook page, but I have to have it in order to have my show page, which is the one that I am active on and that I update and I instant message on, all this past findings and breaking news. It's all through /BBQ Central Show. Inevitably, I'm getting 30 and 40 requests a week, sometimes more, for me to accept friendship on my personal Facebook page. Don't do that. Don't. I'm not going to accept it. It's not because I'm better than anybody or that I don't like you or anything like that. I just don't want to have a Facebook page personally, but I have to have it in order to have my show page. So here's what I'm asking you instead. If you've noticed and you've sent me a friend request on my personal, do me the solid and delete the request, please, because I'm not accepting it. I don't care. If you're related to me, if we're first cousins or fifth cousins, or you're my best pally at work, and you're sending me a friend, I'm not accepting it because I just don't care for that page. Go to my show page and like that page. Do that for me. Don't ask for my friendship on my personal page because I'm not going to do it. And I'm not here to offend you. I'm just not doing it. I don't post on it. Hardly ever. I get tagged a lot on it. But I'm not keeping a personal page. I don't care about that. I'm updating the fan page. That's where you need to go. So instead of asking for friendship, give me the like and then communicate with me through there. Make a post. Instant message me. That's where you're going to find out. That's what I care about, updating that page, giving you breaking news, passing along promo codes, things like this. So don't get offended if you've asked me for friendship and it's been 5 months and you're like racing to your Facebook page. Well, great. He hasn't accepted my damn friendship again. Maybe tomorrow. Tomorrow comes? Nope. That's why. And I don't want secret haters. You're all pissed off all day long because I'm not accepting friend requests. It's not personal. I'm just driving to the show. That's it. Go like the show page. That's like a friend request now. As a friend, I'm requesting that you go to /BBQ Central Show and hit the thumbs up button. Did you know that episode 98 of the best moments of the Barbecue Central Show in 10 minutes or less is coming up this Friday? Episode 98. This is going to be November 1st, 2011. 2011. During the first portion of the show, Bob Trudnak from the Barbecue Guru stops by, which was then the release of the Party Q product. Party Q, of course, the least expensive cost of entry in automatic temperature control device space. And after Bob, we talk to a guy who uttered perhaps my most favorite guest rant ever. Longtime sponsor of this show, Dave Bosca from Butcher Barbecue, was also a guest. And this, you've heard me reference it before from time to time, the famous certified Angus beef rant. Again, if you've never heard about it or you've never heard it and you hear me reference it and you've never been able to find it, you're in luck because episode 98 from November 1st, 2011 will have the famous Dave Bosca certified Angus beef rant. It's so great. You got to hear it. Check it out. Check the whole show out because the introduction of Party Q, which is still available, by the way, and I have one, and it's great. But the CAB rant from Dave Bosca is just succulent. Just succulent. But you have to subscribe to the podcast. Otherwise, you're going to miss it unless you visit my main website every day. That's the only other way outside of subscribing to podcasts that you know you're never going to miss anything related to the show, that you show up on my website. And maybe I'm the worst driver of website traffic ever. That's almost another thing that I think might be on its way out, websites. Unless you're commerce, but I don't sell shit. I just want you to subscribe to the podcast or like my YouTube channel. But if you like my YouTube channel, it's like subscribing to the podcast anyway, except you're using way more data when you're watching on your phone than you would be if you're just listening to audio. And I still think that listening to the show is the best way to experience it. Even if it's in podcast. If you're watching the show live right now, go to my main website and hit the audio only link and just listen to the show. I'm only moderately entertaining when you can see me because a lot of the time it's just like this. I'm looking. Where am I? I'm just talking into this microphone. I still don't understand what the fascination of talking into the microphone is. Hearing me and you thinking about what I'm doing, that's way more magical. It's far more romantic than actually seeing what's transpiring. At least in my view. I love listening back to the show and thinking about how I might be looking. That sounds a bit conceited, but I listen back to the show because I want to get better. I want to sound better for you each and every week. It's not because I think I'm a gas. Who came up with that? Oh, he's a gas. Hey, he's a gas. I didn't get to it, but Beyond Meat is now offering burnt ends, and they are debuting in Florida, and I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. Beyond Meat burnt ends debuting in Florida. Actually, they just debuted. It's already out. Speaking of the barbecue guru, believing that outdoor cooking should be easy and fun because it can be with automatic pit temperature control devices. If you have an offset cooker or a bullet style or a kettle style, Barbecue Guru has been around forever. The creators of this technology, believe it or not, continuing to refine, offer new products, meeting needs. They offer their own special cookers, and you know all the automatic pit temperature control devices that Barbecue Guru offers are going to fit on those cookers. The shotgun cooker, I believe, is the most recent. Plus, if you have a ceramic cooker, like Barbecue Guru offers the Monolith, that's a ceramic cooker. They also offer that rib ring, which doubles the capacity of rib cooks. Ceramic cookers are great, but the capacity isn't wonderful if you're just laying on the grill grate. The rib rack allows you to put them up. It's kind of, stacking them on the side. You can get 6 full racks of spare ribs in it. Come on. BBQGuru.com is the website. BBQGuru.com, or if you want to give them a telephone call and ask some questions, they're happy to field those as well. 800-288-GURU. That's 800-288-GURU. And they continue to be a breakthrough in barbecue technology. Oh, damn it. I didn't get to the video. Wonder if Daniel Vaughn would indulge me. We'll see. Well, he won't be able to see it, so it'll have to wait till next week. Maybe I'll get to burnt ends and the slap video next week. Daniel Vaughn is coming up nonetheless. Stick around. I'll be right back.
The only show giving you a monthly visit from a doctor of barbecue, a man actually named Meathead, the author of a barbecue Bible, bloggers, reviewers, competitors, and manufacturers by the dozens. It's the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
Well, it's finally here this coming weekend. We will find out who will be the first National Barbecue Championship sponsored by Smithfield. Oh my God, the top 24 teams are rolling down the highway as we speak. A lot of them probably tomorrow as they venture into New Orleans, where there will be no less than three separate cooks taking place, ultimately culminating to what I believe is a final table of 6, and they will cook to see who the Smithfield National Barbecue Champion will be. Again, that is in New Orleans this coming weekend. The culmination is here. Are you excited? Check out smokewithsmithfield.com for further updates. My next guest is the barbecue editor for Texas Monthly. You can also see him on this show from time to time giving his thoughts on the world of barbecue and live fire in general. We race to the hotline and welcome back friend of show, Daniel Vaughn. DV, what's up?
Oh, how are you, Greg?
Am I the only guy that calls you DV?
Oh, not the only, but yeah. I guess most people just call me Daniel or the Snob.
Oh, I was going to say, does anybody like reference barbecue snob or snob in some kind of fashion?
Yes, actually, I've seen it on an increasing amount of barbecue menus for a particular sandwich combination that I might enjoy.
Oh, yeah? What is that?
Well, it varies from restaurant to restaurant. Like at Bodacious Barbecue over in Longview, they just added one with it's got their chop. They make a burnt end boudin. It's a mouthful right there, and they do this sandwich where they chop up sausage and brisket together, put it all on a sandwich. And I've asked for one here recently for a link of the burnt end boudin chopped up with some good smoked fatty brisket, topped with a little bit of their spicy barbecue sauce. Yeah, that's a good one. So I think they gave a name with a little bit of a tribute to the barbecue snob.
All right, so if you see snob on a menu somewhere, one snob is not going to be the same as the other snob sandwich.
This is true, yes.
Wow.
But they are going to be sandwiches that I've enjoyed immensely.
Snob approved.
Of course.
Right. TMBBQ.com is Daniel's website. At BBQ Snob, as we were just referencing on the Twitter, if you want to get at him. Do you do Instagram too, Daniel?
Yes, BBQ Snob on Twitter, on Instagram. Yes, indeed, both of them.
All right, consistency is key on the handle, of course. All right, so let's start here. Well, okay, let me back out before we start with the whole Pitmaster Ramon thing, which is just absolutely fabulous. Are you at any fan, or is it anywhere on the snob radar of the World Food Championships?
Well, they were in Dallas, which is where I live. But I had a bunch of other things going on that same weekend that were barbecue related, so I didn't get a chance to partake in any of the festivities.
Is it of any interest to you at all? Like, I mean, do you know anything about it, or other than it's just a thing that is a big food event?
I mean, I know that they've certainly tried to popularize the term food sport rather than competition. I know that there's a lot. It encompasses a lot more than just barbecue, of course, and they've tried to find ways to be able to really judge one cuisine against another on some sort of regular scale, even though it's pretty tough to, judge a dessert against a barbecue item or some other item, and on any sort of scale that would tell you which one was better than the other. I think, to me, barbecue is always going to be the winner, right?
Well, I mean, if you can believe, I think it was the third year or maybe the fourth year, carrot cake won the World Food Championships. I'm not kidding.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's why you have the EAT methodology in place, because it allows carrot cake to beat a brisket, or I think that year carrot cake beat a perfectly executed half chicken by Pitmaker, the guys at Pitmaker. And it was just, it's just one of those things.
that would have me questioning a lot of things.
All right. Well, I was just wondering where on the radar World Food Championship.
I mean, I
is for
like carrot cake, but
Yeah,
come on,
right.
up against barbecue? You kidding me?
or burger, or steak, or chili, or bacon. I mean, it's way down there in the list of those things for sure. All right, so let's talk about this Ramon Gonzalez story, and I think the genesis. I mean, what are we on, week 3 maybe of this? Perhaps it's been going on a month. Subway introduces a naturally smoked brisket sandwich, and there's a picture of a dude that is being referred to as Pitmaster Ramon, and it's a little ambiguous and convoluted.
Not only do they just introduce the sandwich, they've decided to create a fake restaurant in Austin, Texas called Monty's BBQ. Invite a bunch of people to Monty's BBQ for a free tasting. Videotape the whole thing, get film on all these people, get their quotes about what they think about the sandwich, and find enough people with really bad taste to praise that Subway sandwich on camera, or as they thought it to be, a Monty's BBQ sandwich on camera, and then they did the whole Taster's Choice reveal.
Yeah.
And let everybody know that it's not Monty's BBQ, that it was in fact a Subway brisket sandwich, which, I mean, any self-respecting Austinite, I think, should have been asking questions about a brisket sandwich with melted cheddar on it served on a hoagie roll. But yeah, I guess they duped enough people to get some good film out of it.
From a high level, Daniel, isn't the baggiest move of them all the Taster's Choice reveal? I mean, I think they did it with Walmart steaks one time. Now they're doing it with brisket sandwiches from Subway. I mean, it's like the lamest trickery ever.
Yeah, it is a little lame, but I got to hand it to Subway for deciding to go right into Austin, Texas to do it, rather than, choose some other place where a brisket sandwich might not be such a familiar item.
Yeah, ballsy for sure. So they execute that portion of it, and now they've put a face to whoever is cooking their briskets. But now people are free Ramon. Who's Ramon? Blah, blah, blah. So I think, as I called it last week, we it was a great term that I used. Like we together but independently started chasing down this whole Ramon Gonzalez thing, and I believe your source was probably my source, but I have not been given rights to unveil my source. So rule number 1 applies on my side: no names, please. But your source was Tim McKeska, who is widely. I mean, if you don't know Tim, I mean, this guy's barbecue legend, right?
Well, I would say that Tim McKeska was sort of my confirming source. Like,
Sure.
I was already pretty certain by that time. By the time he had sent me a message, it's always good to have another person confirm it. So yeah, I mean, it all started with a poster inside the Subway, right? So if you saw the outside of a Subway walking past, you would have seen a photo of a smoked brisket sandwich in their advertisement for it. And then on the inside of that, on the inside of the window, all of those posters had an image of who they called Pitmaster Ramon, R-A-M-O-N-E, and that's important, standing in front of a big smoker full of briskets, and it touted his 38 years of experience in the pit, and that he and his crew had naturally pit smoked all of the briskets that Subway was using. And of course the questions came, who is Pitmaster Ramon? Like, who is this person? I had some genuine questions about it and put it out to Twitter, but of course Twitter quickly devolves into, this is just, this guy isn't real. It's clip art. It's a stock photo, or it's, just somebody they hired to come in and get a photo. All these things. I was truly felt that Pitmaster Ramon was probably a real person. It would have, I think, gone way too far for them to have completely made up a persona. But I was really curious about who this person was. So I just started tracking down who the supplier was for Subway's brisket. Of course, Subway didn't decide to install a bunch of smokers in each one of their individual 24,000, I think, locations around the country. So yeah, they were definitely getting it from an outside supplier, much like Arby's does. And Arby's supplier, at least when they first came out with their brisket sandwich, was Sadler's Smokehouse, a big operation in a small town in Henderson, Texas, in East Texas. And so once I confirmed that Subway was using that Sadler's Smokehouse brisket, I just started doing some research and found that a similar guy had been written about at Sadler's, who would have had a similar length of experience as the Pitmaster Ramon character on the poster, and his name was Ramon Gonzalez, but spelled Ramon without the E. More like most Ramones would spell their name, unless you're a band,
right?
The Ramones,
right?
Yeah.
Are some of these? Well, okay. Let me back out before I ask this question. Do you think it was an important story to be told in order to set facts straight and to show that there really is somebody that is an actual person to the attached was being perceived as clip art or just fake stuff?
Well, I mean, I think so. If you look at just the way that barbecue joints generally portray themselves, if you ask to see somebody's barbecue pit, they're probably going to show it to you, right?
Sure.
If you want to know the method that they're cooking, they're going to be proud to show you that smoker. They're going to be proud to tell you what kind of wood they decide to use or what kind of meat they're using. Even some will even tell you their rub recipe. Some might even tell you their sauce recipe. But what it boils down to is that we trust pit masters, we trust barbecue joints because there's this real this level of transparency. And they understand, the barbecue joint owners understand that transparency is what helps make them seem like a more authentic outfit, right? If they have a level of authenticity to their cooking, they want to show it off. And I just saw this whole poster as this grasp toward that sort of level of authenticity of, we're using real smoked brisket, but they didn't want any of the transparency that actually comes along with it. They didn't want anybody to actually be able to see that smoke other than the small portion that they showed in that photo. Right. They didn't want anybody to actually talk to Pitmaster Ramon, to talk to him about his experience or, how the method that he uses to cook those briskets.
Are some of these restaurants embarrassed to outsource their meats like brisket to companies like Sadler's? Or, I mean, in other words, do you think that they are hoping to pass off product as something that they might be doing in-house, like fool the by and large general public?
I mean, I don't think they really expect to fool that many people. Or certainly they're not looking to fool the audience who's going to care enough about the fact that it's smoked brisket. And so, but what they certainly didn't want to show was the massive operation, the huge facility that Sadler Smokehouse has out in Henderson that's going to make it look like a huge commercial operation, right? They want to distill it down to this one shot of this barbecue pit with this one guy who represents he's representing the entire crew, but they want to break it down to this one guy. But they didn't actually want to tell you anything about him. And not only in the poster did they not want to tell you anything about him, not even his last name or get his first name right. They also didn't want to tell me anything about that. I called, sent emails to the folks at Sadler Smokehouse and the Subway. Wrote a story about it that wasn't all that kind about the way I felt they had treated Ramon, or had had not wanted to tell his story or allow him to be a real person, rather than just sort of a mascot for them. And just got pretty much no comment back. I got something back from Subway that was pretty much boilerplate sort of stuff, but nothing back to either confirm, just nothing even to confirm that this guy actually worked for them or his name was Ramon Gonzalez or any of that. So, but I was parked in the street outside Sadler Smokehouse between the employee parking lot and the facility, talking to some of the workers who were going across in the crosswalk, and got some confirmation from them that the famous Subway Ramon did work in there.
Daniel Vaughn talking about Subway's brisket, naturally smoked brisket, and the Pitmaster Ramon Gonzalez issue of 2019. And we I mean, it's more or less resolved at this point, right? He's a real human being, and there you go. We can move on.
It's resolved, and certainly, I mean, as far as the brisket sandwich itself, like the limited time offer is pretty much done anyway. Yeah. So I think last week is when they switched over to some new campaign, and I think the brisket sandwich is no longer their focus.
Now, it seems unfortunate because, as you and I both know, Pitmaster Ramon did happen to take up a Twitter handle today or late yesterday and started tweeting at you about visiting him at work and so forth.
I don't think we really need to encourage whoever that character is.
All right, let's talk about fast food brisket for a second here. And I see it purely for any fast food restaurant that is offering a brisket sandwich. I see it purely as a profit-driven move. There's no interest in getting it right or making it something akin to an Austin or a Lockhart brisket. These briskets at these places, by and large, are crap. What's your take on that?
Well, I mean, just the simple fact that if you're going to build a sandwich around the idea of getting in cold brisket that's thinly sliced and heating it up in a microwave or on a flat top, you're not really interested in producing a really great brisket sandwich. Like you've got to do some things to help that brisket along, because by the time you sliced it and chilled it and then reheated it, it's going to be pretty dry. So, let's add some barbecue sauce, and in the case of Arby's, add mayonnaise as well, and maybe some cheese to add some additional fat in there. Basically, it's you take this, you waste all these briskets that could otherwise be used in good barbecue joints. You've taken a lot of these briskets off the market to put into these sandwiches, and then instead of anybody really tasting much brisket of any sort, you end up tasting barbecue sauce and mayonnaise and cheese. And the brisket itself ends up being such a small part of the sandwich that it gets hidden underneath all that. And it's sort of for that reason that I said in an article I recently wrote about fast food barbecue, talked about the fact that I almost respect the McRib more. Like the McRib isn't trying to fool anybody that it's barbecue. They're not saying it's a smoked rib. They're not saying that a pitmaster, anybody made it. They're just simply saying, yeah, here's a pork patty. It tastes like barbecue sauce because that's what it's covered in, and we put pickles and onions on it, and you're just going to eat it and like it. It's a textured patty that, I mean, if there's any advertisement for like the Beyond Meat folks or vegetable proteins, like that pork patty could be just about anything with that same spongy texture, and it's still going to taste like that McDonald's barbecue sauce.
Are you surprised that the McRib is so revered? I mean, we can talk about how crappy brisket sandwiches are all day long until the cows come home, but the McRib is kind of a different monster altogether. I mean, there are devout people that I think it's this time of year when it's released, that are literally lining up and ready to get their hands on a McRib, and after they get that first bite, they are extolling the virtues of McRib, and thank goodness it's back again.
Yeah, I think McDonald's has been really smart to take it on and off the market. Now, you said you think it's this time of year, and that's exactly right. You don't know when it happens because they don't really announce dates when it comes back and it goes off. But there have actually been studies done that track the price of pork to when the McRib is gone and back on the market, and that when the price of pork really takes a nosedive, that's when the McRib comes back onto the menu. So while that might be tied to some sort of seasonal issues, the McRib seems to be tied anyway to the price of pork whenever they can get it cheaply.
Daniel Vaughn joining me here on the show. Daniel, can I hold you over for one more segment? We can talk about a few other items.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, then you can stand by here for just a second. Then we will come back and talk a few more food items here with Daniel Vaughn. TMBBQ.com is website if you want to check it out during the break. We'll be right back with him. I'll talk to you quickly about Big Papa Smokers, the one-stop online shop for all things barbecue-related. Curated selection of only the best outdoor cooking and grilling supplies get you on the path to better barbecue results in no time. Everything on the website has been Pitmaster approved by Sterling Big Papa Ball himself, from the award-winning rubs and sauces to the American-made grills and smokers. They have something for every type of outdoor cook. 13 perfectly balanced flavors of rubs and spices, transforming ordinary meals into extraordinary meals. Whether you're cooking to impress judges or friends, Big Papa Smokers' award-winning rubs and seasonings don't disappoint. Plus, they have a unique partnership with Steph Franklin over at Simply Marvelous Barbecue. When you put Big Papa's and Simply Marvelous together, now you are messing around with the West Coast offense. That's potent, that's dangerous, and it wins a lot. So if you want to give it a try, hook up with that. They also own Granny's Barbecue Sauce. So if you're looking for a new go-to sauce, you're a little sick of the Blues Hog, or you're a little sick of KC Masterpiece or Famous Dave or whatever, and you're looking for a new sauce, try Granny's. You just might fall in love with that. They also have great cookers. So if you're looking perhaps for a new pellet smoker, they have a Mac 2-star General pellet cooker available on the website. They're the only online dealer for Mac grills, if you can believe that. If you're not a fan of the pellet smoker, you can take a look at the Old Hickory Ace BP. That is a charcoal-driven convection smoker. Big Papa has one on his competition trailer. In fact, it's the only charcoal smoker on the back of his competition trailer. Now, if you're not sure of what grill you need after you take a look on the website, you can call them and ask all the questions you want. 877-828-0727. That's 877-828-0727. Or shop the website, bigpapasmokers.com. That's BIGPOPPA smokers.com. All right, we are back with more Daniel Vaughn. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Continuing to produce incredibly mediocre content in an exceptionally professional way. You're listening and watching the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
All right, welcome back. Talking with Daniel Vaughn from Texas Monthly. Daniel, thanks for hanging with me through the break there. You know, this is
no problem.
I can't remember a time when fast food has really dominated the news cycle. So we talk about McRib, and, you know, it's around this time. Of course, we've had the run of brisket sandwiches with Subway. Arby's has been around. It's actually on the permanent menu now for some time. And then this year, perhaps fast food has hit its cataclysmic fame, all thanks to Popeyes and this reveal of a chicken sandwich first in the summer that caused so much controversy and so much angst and so much fanaticism that there was a guy in Tennessee who was chasing ass all over the greater Chattanooga area, going into bad surfaced parking lots and popping tires and bending ribs, so much so that he decided that he would take Popeyes to court. That's actually something that's going to be happening. That whole file, or that whole suit, has been filed, and it will actually get its day in court. His name's Craig Barr. Then, just this past weekend, the chicken sandwich is re-revealed, and hysteria reigns again. What are you figuring on this Popeyes chicken sandwich? Is this just an incredibly successful marketing scheme, and that's it?
It's obviously an incredibly successful marketing scheme.
Brilliant.
But I do think that there's something behind it, because I actually had the first Popeyes chicken sandwich that I tried today.
Okay.
I was actually headed out to get a burger at another restaurant, and it was 11 o'clock, and I was passing a Popeyes. I saw they had the big sign in the window. They had the chicken sandwiches back, and there was only one other person in that drive-through. So I figured, hey, here's my chance to go try it. And you know, I feel like maybe this Popeyes chicken sandwich is sort of the Franklin barbecue of chicken sandwiches, right? It's got all this hype behind it.
Yeah.
Has these long lines, and then also has lots of people who are like, I'm never going to stand in that line to ever try it. Right?
Yeah, right.
Well, I guess that was sort of me for the first go round. It's like, yeah, these lines, I'm not going to bother for the chicken sandwich. But hey, opportunity presented itself. Came through that line, got that chicken sandwich up right there in the parking lot to eat it fresh.
Mm-hmm.
And my God, it's a good chicken sandwich.
Now, look here.
So-
Now, stop just for a goddamn second. We're talking about Popeye's fast food, right? So
Yes,
this would be
yes.
akin to
It is a $4 chicken
yeah,
sandwich.
Chick-fil-A, Popeyes, Kentucky Fried Chicken. I mean, this is all the same kind of strata of quality that we're talking about here. So when you say it's that
more,
good,
more on this.
it's my show. You don't tell me to hold on. What are you talking about?
No. You're proving my point here. Like, and that's what everybody says about Franklin. There's so much good barbecue in Austin. Why would you ever need to stand in line? How much better could it really be than the rest of them, right? The Popeyes chicken sandwich is so much better than a KFC sandwich, so much better than a Chick-fil-A sandwich. Like, I was really stunned today by how much I liked it. Like, the chicken is super juicy. The crust has this crunch. Like, it hasn't gotten soggy. The bun is like soft and buttery. The pickles on it are even good. The sauce is like, it's definitely a mayonnaise-based sauce, but it's more spicy than you ever think it's going to be. Like, my lips were still burning like 30 minutes after I ate the sandwich. So it's like, it is just so good and so much better than other chicken sandwiches. It's just like, you just have to decide you're going to wait in line one time to try it, and then it can change your mind. But,
wow.
And Popeyes isn't paying me for any of this, that's for sure. And I'm certainly not the chicken sandwich snob, but damn, it's a good chicken sandwich.
Now, here's the point I was trying to make in a long-winded way.
Before I interrupted you, sorry.
all of the dissertation aside, we listen to it, we take it for what it is. On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the worst thing that you've ever eaten in your life, and 10 being the pinnacle of food ever on the face of the earth, where does the chicken sandwich rate? Really?
Oh, man. I'd give it a 7.
What? A 7? A
Have you
7?
had it?
No, of course
Have you
not.
had it?
No way.
Like, I thought about going back to get one for dinner tonight after I went to eat dinner with my family.
Oh, dear. Well, I mean, I have to be honest. 7 completely boggles my mind. My thought is this. I can
and I didn't want it to be that high. I didn't want to love it that much because I wanted it to be all hype machine, right? And it be all marketing and me to just be able to poo-poo the whole thing.
Yeah.
But then my mind was changed.
So my thought is, and I can get with all of what you're saying. I want to hate it. Hell, if I went, I would want to love it. And where I get tripped up is, I would never wait in a line for anything, whether it's Franklin's or Popeyes or whatever. I just don't wait in line because nothing's going to change my life that much. But in the end, I'm waiting in line for a fast food chicken sandwich. And that's my biggest mental hurdle. Like, to me, the best chicken sandwich is probably going to be 3 or 4 on a scale of 1 to 10, ranging from, where my 1 and 10 was. Like 3 or 4 at best, but 7, it seems to be insanely high for a fast food chicken sandwich. So while I'm not going to rush out and go to Popeyes tomorrow, I would say that for somebody like yourself who wanted to hate all over it and now rates it a 7, I would say that I might have, in a moment of weakness, I might consider pulling into in the restaurant's driveway, but I would probably continue driving straight past. But at least there would be a potential moment of weakness now. Do others concur with you? I mean, aside from the masses, I know, but people that you trust and that are respected. I'm not talking about the rest of the
people
dopes.
that I trust and that I respect have absolutely gone out and just love this chicken sandwich and talked about it on Twitter and on Instagram. Yeah, people whose taste that I admire. And even then, like that first go round of the chicken sandwich release, it did not convince me to go try it. But like I said, this was the opportunity presented itself, and there was no line there really, just like a car in front of me. And so I jumped in and took I shot my shot right there.
If there was a 10-car line, Daniel Vaughn drives right by without a second thought.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
All right,
yeah.
we're gaining back credibility here. All right, so let's change gears very quickly. We're talking with Daniel Vaughn, by the way. tmbbq.com is the website if you want to check it out. November 3rd saw the 10th annual Texas Monthly Barbecue Festival take place. Give us a little
Indeed.
recap on what the event is and how it went off this year.
Yeah, well, at Texas Monthly, we put together a top 50 list. We do it every 4 years, and we invite all those top 50 barbecue joints from around the state to come cook at the Texas Monthly Barbecue Festival in Austin. And, this year we had 30 barbecue joints who said yes and offered to, pull up stakes from wherever they were located in Texas and come into Austin and cook for a bunch of barbecue fans, over 3,000 barbecue fans on a Sunday. It was November 3rd. And we had 30 barbecue joints. Now 28 of them were actually from the top 50. And then we had a newcomer from last year, which was Guest Family Barbecue in Waco. And then our newcomer this year, which was Blood Brothers Barbecue in Houston. So those are places that I select that I feel like are going to probably have a good shot at our next top 50, a way to bring in some new blood into the festival. And yeah, that's why I picked Blood Brothers. Sorry, I didn't even mean to make that pun.
No problem.
And so, yeah, it was really exciting this year because I think the barbecue joints are really starting to understand like how to showcase new and different things, and not necessarily just bring small samples of the regular menu, but really sometimes create completely new items for the festival that they really don't do anywhere else, or don't really plan to add to their menu.
Best moment of the day for you?
Oh, best moment of the day. Well, I mean, a hug from Miss Tootsie Tominets. I'm the 84-year-old pitmaster at Snow's Barbecue. That's always a good way to start the day. And then the kind folks at La Barbecue let me test out they had a lineup of it was a shot of Sotol whiskey, a pickleback, and then a brisket, bite of brisket on top of that. And so we tested that out in the morning just to make sure it was going to be a good trio of flavors.
Are you surprised at how, holding the brisket part of that aside, but are you surprised how good a pickleback shot is, whiskey, and then followed by the pickle brine?
Yeah, I was also really surprised at how much better it was to have that last bite be a nice fatty piece of brisket, or even sausage. Like, it really just rounded the whole thing out. So yeah, I certainly am now a big advocate. If you're going to go ahead and do the pickleback, like, end it really with a nice fatty piece of smoked meat.
You recently wrote an article that I read, and quite frankly, it was fascinating and spot on. Barbecue seems to hold certain terms near and dear to the heart. We've talked about some of these on the shows in past times. For instance, barbecue itself, burnt ends. One of my favorites is seasoned, as it relates to pits that are broken in. You did an article covering that specific subject, and it was quite revealing, especially to those lazy people out there. And we will name them here in a second, but tell me a little bit about the article and how you got the idea to work on it.
Yeah, well, I mean, the whole idea of the article was to talk to different pit masters about what they thought the term seasoned meant when it came to smokers. And I know that in past experience that I've seen some really just filthy, dirty smokers they've just got black sludge on the inside of them. They got it dripping down the smokestack, dripping out the doors. They've got just black nastiness, like caked up on all the racks. And the pit master, if you ask them, are you going to clean this thing? No, it's seasoned. Yep. This is seasoned, right? Well, I never felt like that was a really good reason to keep a filthy pit, just so you could say it's seasoned. So I talked to some other pit masters who I know run good operations, make really great barbecue, and see what they felt like that term meant, and basically, do they clean their smokers, and how often? And pretty much every one of them I talked to, yes, they clean their smokers once a week, scrape them out, scrape down those grates. Like, you got to get them looking good. You don't want all that leftover black gunk. And, I talked to them as well about how they view like the method of seasoning. And by their method of seasoning is more akin to what you would do to, say, a cast iron skillet if you were to get it new, right? You want to get some fat on it and oil of some sort, and then get it really hot to help some of the pores of the steel open up and be able to capture that oil and create sort of a sheen on the surface of it. And that's what a lot of pit masters do. They'll take a new pit, clean it out, wash it out, sometimes with soap, sometimes just with water, sometimes a pressure wash, and then they'll coat it with a fat of some sort. Some roll it on, some spray it on, some use peanut oil, some use brisket fat, and then you light that sucker up. Like you crank the smoker, you build a big fire in the firebox, and you're cranking it at 400 or 500 degrees. Try and get it as hot as you can, and then cook on it immediately. So rather than this idea that you can't cook on a brisket, that you can't cook a good brisket in a smoker until it's been well seasoned or well broken in, these pit masters are telling me, hey, I can cook on a pit just fine. Like as soon as I get done seasoning it, as soon as I get done with this process of breaking it in on that first day, you can still put out some good brisket. So, and one of them, I was talking to Aaron Franklin about this idea of, basically just comparing it to a car, right? If you got a 16-year-old and you get them a new car or a used car even, you send them out on the road, and when they're 18, by the time they get to be 18, they're going to be better drivers. They're not going to be good drivers, but they're going to be better drivers. And nothing happened to that car, right? That car didn't get any better. It's just they used this tool. They had this tool, and they used it for 2 years, and they became more adept at using it. So I don't think there's much to the idea of a film of black gunk inside a smoker helping it smoke any better, so much as there is that if you get a new smoker and you've never used it before, the more you get used to the hot spots and cool spots of that smoker, you're going to get better at cooking on it.
So should we revise or put a new definition on what the term seasoned means? And it perhaps should include not sludgy, not creosote, not just looking like it is crap.
Yeah, I mean, my basic premise was just like, stop using the word seasoned to describe your filthy smoker and to cover up your own laziness.
Okay, are we ready to name names yet?
It's like you're not allowed to use that word. Yeah, exactly. Are we going to name? Oh, I thought you had some names.
No.
What Cleveland spots do you have that are
dirty?
They're not cooking so clean these days.
The one that I knew the most, it was quite an iconic place. It was called Hot Sauce. I think there is a Hot Sauce Williams it's in Shaker or somewhere around Shaker, but there was a different version on East 55th Street. But that is since shut down for any number of months now. But that was a really sketchy operation from top to bottom. And it sucked because it was widely considered to be, like, when you talk about whatever Cleveland barbecue is, singularly, that is the first restaurant that comes up that people want to talk about where the history of Cleveland barbecue. It's always Hot Sauce Williams. I think McLemore's gets thrown in there, but then quickly the list dwindles because we have no real backbone of barbecue or history of backbone of barbecue here.
Now you've got Mabel's.
Yeah, but I mean, what are we talking about? 5 or 6 years? I'm not ready to.
Cleveland barbecue now representing in Vegas.
Yeah. But I mean,
the Mabel's in Vegas.
It's a Iron Chef restaurant. I think if Michael Simon wasn't behind it, it probably wouldn't be there. And it's great that he represents. Don't get me wrong. He represents Cleveland really well. He's very proud to be from Cleveland. So somebody who lives there, I certainly appreciate that and love what he does for exposure and media attention to the city. But I'm not ready to race out and say that Cleveland has any type of real traditional Southern barbecue heritage by any stretch of the imagination. Do we have a few good options? Yes, we have a few good options, and that's kind of where it stops. And, so be it. But all the good places that I've seen all have really well-kept pits. Likewise, on my backyard, I'm a neat freak, and I will power wash, and I will scrub out, and I will scrape off, and I'm not as crazy as my Michigan embedded correspondent, who is an absolute clean freak to a whole different level. But I'm in the belief, as Ted Reeder from Canada used to say, a clean grill is a healthy grill.
That's right. Yeah, and you only have to open up your smoker one time and smell rancid fat before you're never going to let that happen again.
Yeah, it's not pretty. Plus, you'll have opossums running all around your cookers. Those things are ugly and hideous, and I think they're poisonous too, if I'm not mistaken. I
don't know. Maybe skin it up and put it in the smoker.
No way. I'm not touching that. Any new news stories that are in the works that you can tell us about?
Well, right now I'm working on a story, like literally as soon as I'm done with our conversation here, I'll finish it up because I'm hitting a barbecue road trip tomorrow. So I got to get my work done, man. And one of them is about a couple of places in Houston doing just really unique pork ribs. Candente is doing a Tex-Mex pork ribs. They've got this, they've got a rub that they put on it. They smoke them up. And then they put this rub of it's like half barbecue sauce, and then they add a bunch of ancho and pasilla chili puree and some honey and molasses.
Wow.
And then they finish them off on the grill, serve them with some queso fresco and cilantro, and then they make this chili lime butter. Instead of a barbecue sauce, you dip these ribs into this chili lime butter.
Wow.
Really interesting. And then another place in Houston called International Smoke that does a trio of ribs, American style, one is Thai style, and then another Korean style. And the Thai style, like they're taking the ribs and they're marinating them in like soy sauce and fish sauce and garlic and shallots and all kinds of good stuff before they even smoke them. All these are, legit smoked ribs. They just all taste a whole lot different than your standard salt and pepper Texas ribs.
Look forward to those reviews, no doubt. You can follow them online at BBQ Snob if you want. And the handle is consistent all the way through, depending on whatever platform you like. You can read them at tmbbq.com. It is the barbecue editor of Texas Monthly, Daniel Vaughn. Daniel, always appreciate the time, my friend.
Great talking with you.
There he is, Daniel Vaughn. Barbecue road trip getting ready to happen. I love lime butter. Did he say, was it lime butter? Oh, my God. How good does that sound? A lot of great things there. The one thing that I immediately want to go back to, I specifically asked Daniel, on a scale of 1 to 10, how good is the Popeyes chicken sandwich? And he said a 7. I can't believe that. 7? That's 3 points away from the best thing you've ever eaten in your life. 3 points away. That's really close. Really close. I'm arguing in my mind, in my silence, on if I'm going to go to Popeyes. Craig Barr didn't push me over the edge. Steve Ray didn't push me over the edge. People shooting themselves over chicken sandos wasn't pushing me over the edge. Popeyes employees fighting with other Popeyes employees about the chicken sandos were not pushing me over edge. But 7? Whoa. That is quite a revelation. Wow. Although he did say that if there was a line of 10 cars, he just would have kept driving. So he does have that going for him. All right, we will wrap it up right here. All the way back in the first hour. Mike McCloud, remember that? He left Jennifer Garner to pick up the phone and then have an extended interview with me. I can tell you right now, if Jennifer Garner's in my house on a Tuesday at 9 p.m., I will not be doing this show. No. I will be hanging out with Jennifer Garner. Then, first-timer to the show and host of On the Road with Dane Neal. You can check him out 2 to 4 Central Time on WGN720.com. That's WGN Radio. The blowtorch, that is. Second hour, all Daniel Vaughn, all the time. TMBBQ.com, his website, at BBQ Snob, Twitter handle, Instagram handle, and the like. Big show planned for you next week. Kevin Coleman is in. Steven Reichlin is in. Robin Lindars is in. And we will be aiming to chase down the Smithfield National Barbecue Reserve Grand Champion. Little inside joke there, but you may or may not see where I'm coming from on that. September 11th, 2001. I will never forget. Until next Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern, this is your program host and proud U.S. American, Greg Rempe. Good night now.
Bobby Rempe from Cleveland.